All right, we're here for session 3 with Richard Burdick. And last time we talked about you're not able to find anything good in the silver dollar rolls that you were looking at around town because everything had been searched. So what did you do?
Well, my father had an old high school friend that was the manager of a bank that was maybe 4 blocks from where we lived. So my dad and I went down there to talk to his friend. He actually played golf with this guy also, and explained the situation. And the banker says, "Well, I can call a Federal Reserve Bank and have a whole bag of 1,000 silver dollars in a bag." He says, "I can get them for you. I'll just call them Adam." He said, "I want to warn you, they're going to charge me $15 shipping. They ship a railroad express or something. That's how the banks move money around the country." And so I don't know, it was maybe a month. My mother got a call. It was on a Friday. I was in school. My mother got a call from the banker and said there was 2 bags of dollars, 1,000 silver dollars in each bag. Well, this money was from some money that my father had inherited, because that was an awfully lot of money to my family. So she told the banker that we couldn't come down today because I had to do my paper route, but we'd be down there before noon the following day on a Saturday. And so we drove down there in a 1949 Plymouth four-door. I mean, this is what, 1962. It was an old car even then. But she pulled right up in front of the door, which is a no parking area. But we're going to have to schlep these dollars out of the bank. She wanted the car real close. So I went up to the teller window and told him I put $2,000 in cash down on the table, and I'm what, 11, 13 years old maybe. And I said, "I'm here to pick up my silver dollars." And she said, "Well, what are you doing with all this money?" And I said, "Well, my parents gave me the money. We ordered these silver dollars. Go talk to the president of the bank, because he knows everything." So she went and talked to him, comes out there. He said, "Yeah, Richard and his dad ordered these. There's the money. Give them the coins." Well, $1,000 bag of silver dollars weighs 60, 70 pounds. And I had a really hard time lifting one of these bags. So once I got them, I kind of put them on the floor, and I literally drug one bag across maybe 30, 40 feet down these steps. And my mother was waiting out there. We opened the trunk of the car, and it was hard to lift one bag in there. And actually, the car sunk down a little bit, and I had to go back and get the other bag. And we got it out there. We drove. It was a grizzly November day. It was raining and cold, and a typical Michigan November. So these bags were, I mean, every time I'd touch it, my hands would turn black. There was like soot. Uh, it looked like graphite on your fingers. And I put them on this oak table that my grandmother, who gave me a lot of these coins, Grandma Mary, she had given us this old oak table, and I remember her saying she bought that out of a Sears catalog in 1921. She paid $3.25 for this table. So I get in the kitchen and get those bags in there, and I set one bag up on the table, and I set the other bag on the table. Well, the table kind of went like this, so I took one bag back down on the floor. Now these bags, they had this heavy gauge copper wire, and connected to that were these lead seals that the wires went through. So you had to cut the copper wire to open the bags. And if memory serves me correctly, there was an embossed date on the lead seals. They were I think those were sealed up in 1917, and they were probably the government had a recall back then. We were taking a lot of coins out of circulation. They were going to melt.
For the Pittman Act.
Yeah, exactly, for the Pittman Act. And so I started. Most of these silver dollars had considerable amount of wear on them, like very good, fine. And there was a lot of extra fines, and a few slider unks. So I started, I started making them stacks of 1878. Yeah, 1878. And then there was mint marks, or there was S mints, but there was a lot of CC coins. So I started making up 1878, 79, 80, 81. Well, the stacks of the CCs were getting much taller than the other dates. And CCs were very popular at this time because it's a romantic mint from the Old West. So I'm going through there, and I'm telling you, I started getting second and third stacks of some of these dates, CCs. I was on cloud nine because I hadn't owned a CC up until this point. Well, I kept making. I found the best first coin I found, and I didn't realize how rare it was an 85cc in about very fine condition. And I only found one of those out of these 2,000 coins, only one 85cc. And later in life, I'd find out why. So, anyways, the real good coin I got was an 89cc. In fact, out of the two bags, there were 11 89cc's. And there was one that today we would grade about AU 50. And there was maybe 3 XFs and maybe 4 very fines. And there was not one of them, only one of them maybe in fine condition. So I took that 89cc, that was the best one of the 89cc. I put that right in my book of Morgan dollars. And CCs went right up to 93cc, which ended up being the last year they minted. Well, I tell you, it took me a couple days to go through these 2 bags of dollars. And when I got done, there was over 600 CC mint coins. Now, some of them are only in good to AG, but like I said, there was a lot of VS, XFs, but there was that one AU 89cc. So I literally, out of those 2 bags, picked a complete set of Morgan dollars. Out of just those 2 bags, there was only one 93S. It was in like fair condition. You could read it, but it had so much wear on it. You had to really kind of look at it for a while to see it's a 93S. So, anyways, that wasn't the most valuable. That coin was only worth $15 to $20 at the time in that low grade. But that 89cc, even back then, I think it was maybe a $150 coin.
Pretty good for a circulation find.
Oh, like absolutely. I mean, I was on cloud nine, and I mean, this was unheard of to find this many CCs. So I would take those. Well, a few might sell down at the coin shop. I'd sell them at the coin club meeting, and.
When did you start shipping them out?
Well, I had literally mixed date rolls of CCs. And in Coin World, which I started taking in 1963, there was a guy by the name Shotgun Slade. He was out of Orlando, Florida. And he'd take double page ads in Coin World, and he specialized in silver dollars, BU rolls, proof sets, things of that nature. He dealt with a lot of different stuff. So I had these CC dollars, and I want to sell these things so I can buy more coins. So I called him up, and I'm 13, 14 years old at the time. I sold him a whole roll, one roll of mixed date CCs. I don't even remember what I got for it, but it took him about 3 weeks to send me my check. And so a month or so later, I called him up again, see if he wanted to buy another roll. And he said, sure, ship it to me. And several weeks later, I got paid for it. And I'd have some of these in my pocket. I'd sell them at school to teachers, some of the kids. You know, I can't remember what I was getting for CC dollars. But the 89 CCs, now I sold one of those maybe in very fine condition down to my local coin dealer. I think I got for that coin about $30, $35. One in very fine condition. And I had 3 XFs. I sold that coin dealer, Oren Fox. I sold him an XF for, I think I got $75 for that coin. It only cost me $1. I mean, this is great. This is better than Pell and Papers. So anyways, I was going to sell this Orin Fox, another one of the 89 cc's, and he says, "Well, I have to sell this one before I can afford to buy another one." So I was into bicycle racing and do training runs, and I would ride from Battle Creek, Michigan, to Kalamazoo, Michigan, because there was 3 different coin dealers over there, and I sold one of those dealers one of the XF 89 cc's for around $75. I still had 2 XFs left. So one of the training runs I did with another guy, Bob Verkus, we rode up to Holland, Michigan, which is about 80 miles from here, and we'd taken sleeping bags with us on our 10 speeds, and we camped out at the edge of these sand dunes. And while we were there one day, we spent 2 nights, and it took a day each way to ride our bikes. It takes a while to ride 80 miles. You got to be in pretty good condition. Well, we rode into Holland, Michigan, and we went past an antique shop, and it says, "We buy antiques and old coins." So we went in there, and I showed him my XF. I had an XF 89 cc in my pocket, and he didn't want to give me very much for it, but he knew it was a good coin. And I ended up selling that coin to him for about $65. I mean, it was free money to me. It cost me $1. So several weeks later, I still had one extra 89 cc, a nice extra fine coin. So another friend of mine who was into this bicycle training and bicycle racing, we rode up to Vermontville, Michigan. And it was about a 35-mile run each way. And there's a little coin shop up there, which we just happened to run on. I didn't even know there was a coin shop up there. So I sold my last 89 cc to that guy for around $70. And I slowly sold off. I built I had a whole set of Morgan dollars, but I didn't sell any. I kept all these extra ones. So I ended up getting quite lucky, and I had to make several $1,000s off all these dollars. It cost me $1 a piece, and I was hooked on coin collecting. I said, this is really a good. I was interested in it, And something else I did, and I don't know why I did. I kept studying these Morgan dollars under. I had this magnifying glass. Actually, it was a lens out of a microscope. And this thing, I still got it downstairs. I started noticing that there was, especially on the 1878s, some of them had, and I didn't know this because I don't think it was even in the Red Book at the time. There was 7-tail feathers, there's 8-tail feathers, there's a flared arrow reverse, and a parallel arrow reverse. And that's part of the reason I saved these 2 coins, because there was one of each type with a flared feather and a parallel feather. That always kind of interested me, and I kept studying these Morgan dollars. And I started, instead of just spend these dollars, I started saving them by what we would call now die varieties, and I did that for several years, and then I kept them. I had about almost 200 Morgan dollars that I'd saved back because they interested me for some reason. So since I'd done so well on these silver dollars, 1963, you could go to the Treasury Department, Federal Reserve banks, and get bags of silver dollars for $1 a piece. Now, a lot of people didn't know this, but by 1963, word started getting around. I mean, coin dealers, they'd been doing this for years. They kept it very quiet, and they were getting some rare coins, whole bags. Like Harry Foreman I found this out later, Harry Foreman, he dealt in all kinds of American coins, but he was going to the Treasury and the Federal Reserve banks and getting a lot of bags of silver dollars. And one time, he got a bag of 030s, what at the time was considered the rarest of the Morgan dollars. And he had an uncirculated bag, 1,000 O3Os. And he went up to New York City and sold, he was going to piece them out. He sold a bunch of dealers in New York. And then he found out some dealers in Detroit. He drove all the way from Philadelphia to Detroit. He also stopped at down in Dayton, Ohio. There was a big dealer from down there, it was, Jim Kelly. He was he was a Vestpot dealer. He traveled around the country on trains selling dealers' coins. Kelly bought a couple rolls of these O3Os. The Red Book said they were worth $1,500, which was an atrocious amount of money at that time. Well, news, it didn't take that long where all these dealers are trying to sell O3Os to each other by the rolls. So that the value went down. I don't remember how low it got, but if memory serves me correctly, it's like $15. It went down to about that price. And there's O4Os in that hoard. So this really piqued the interest of my dad, his brother. So we took that 49 Plymouth. This was sometime in 1963. We drove that Plymouth to Washington, D.C., and you had to go up to the Treasury building, it was across the street right next to the White House. And there's a long line of people waiting in line. And you couldn't park right there. We parked the car about 2 blocks away. And my dad, my uncle, and we walked up there. Now, I don't know how many, there were several hundred people ahead of us. And the line didn't move very fast. So I'd go back to the car, and my dad and uncle, they'd take turns standing in line because we're going to be there a long time. And there was, the window in the Treasury was they had one window, and you had to wait your turn to go up there, put your money down, get your bag of dollars, and leave. There were some guys getting 10 bags, and they'd have runners, carry one bag at a time out. They pull up a car and throw the bag in there, and they drive away because the police they wouldn't let you park there. They'd write you tickets. Some guys would just double park their cars and go get dollars, and then they have a parking ticket when they come in. They didn't care. They're from out of state. They're not going to be around anyway. But this was quite a situation here. I was fascinated by all this. So we kept a cooler in the trunk of the car. Had bread, bologna, peanut butter, jelly, Cokes, and somebody had to stand in line the whole time, and I would be the runner, the go-to back and forth guy. So we finally got up to the window, and my dad had $1,000 in cash, and my uncle had $1,000 in cash, so they paid for 2 bags. And my uncle, they took each one of them picked up a bag. They took it out in front. There's a whole series of steps you had to go down before you get to where the road was at. And so they got both bags there. And my uncle and I went back to the car. No, my uncle stayed with the coins. My dad and I went back to the car, which was at least 2 or 3 blocks away. Then we drove up front, and we were double parked, but we were only there a couple minutes because we put both those bags, and the car literally sunk down, and we drove it all the way home, back to Battle.
You didn't look when you
No,
were there?
No, we didn't open them. They're mint-sewn bags. We didn't know what was in there, but we were really disappointed when we got home, because both bags were brand new and circulated 1923 peace dollars, which were worth very little. They were worth, if you shipped them to a dealer, you might get $1.10. Some dealers only pay 5 cents over, but by the time you paid the freight, you lost money. So that's what we got for all that trouble. In fact, I've got a couple of them right here.
Let's go ahead and show the viewers.
I forgot. I might have a couple of more of those downstairs. This one is really pretty. See, that one I put a lot of these coins in vanilla envelopes, and this is one that took on a really nice patina, which as time went by, I loved to find beautifully toned coins. And they're few and far between at that time.
Wow, quite an adventure. And we'll pick back up here in our next episode with more of your stories.